I stopped listening to your answer when you brought up Nestle Crunch. Are you a Crunch bar guy?
I've been known to be one.
I love this guy, man.
You love
Crunch is my 1-1.
That's your one pick
Over
Mr. Goodbar.
You could talk me into Kit Kat and then Crunch.
Yeah.
Two relatives in the same family, but I'm a Crunch guy.
All right, welcome back to Nanodosing. It is Tuesday. It's March 3rd, and today's episode is brought to you by our great friends over at Stella Blue. I had a Stella Blue for breakfast. I had the Cafe Mocha. It was in the cold brew. It was a good source of protein, and it comes in two smooth flavors. You can get the Cafe Mocha like I had, or you can get the sweet cream. And it wasn't the cold brew. It was actually the canned latte. It was the ready-to-drink canned latte. And it's delicious, and the great thing about Stella Blue is that the benefits go beyond the great taste themselves. Every purchase supports animal rescue organizations, so when you drink Stella Blue, not only are you drinking great tasting coffee, you're also helping to save more dogs. And if lattes aren't your thing, Stella Blue has a variety of formats of customizable coffee. You can try it now at StellaBlueCoffee.com. That is StellaBlueCoffee.com. All right, welcome back to Nanodosing. Tuesday, March 3rd. We're back. We got myself, Arian, Big T, and we are going to be joined by college football expert and Donald Trump interviewer, Josh Pate. Him and Big T are going to interface, and we'll see if they become great friends. You looking forward to interfacing?
Always
looking forward to interfacing. Not a lot happened this weekend, so I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, kind
football?
of a light show.
We can just talk about college football.
We have college football coming up.
College football coming
block.
up. Yeah, college football coming up on the 8th.
Yeah.
So are we at war?
It doesn't seem like it yet.
Conducting airstrikes.
Yeah.
We're
just striking.
And lots of airstrikes.
We're in the talking stage
against
of war.
Against Iran. So we've kind of seen this coming for a while. There's been a big buildup in the Middle East, and on Friday night, Saturday morning, we initiated a lot of airstrikes, and we killed the Ayatollah, reportedly, and then like 40 of the next in charge.
Can I ask something before we really get into it? We'd been stationing ships and planes and stuff there for weeks.
Yeah.
And they still let their leader get killed instantly? I mean, kind of like what war is to be had.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just they realized that they weren't going to be able to hide out, to have everybody hide from the
But he
military.
was like just in his house, right?
I don't know where he was.
Didn't think to move houses?
I don't know where it was, but I think there was some sort of a meeting with a lot of the top brass in Iran, and they got taken out. Now, if I'm putting on my conspiracy hat, I'm a viewer of the TV show Tehran. I don't know if you've seen it.
You've recommended it. I haven't watched it yet.
So they had I don't know if it was a series finale or the season finale. I watched it on Friday, and then 3 hours later, we're actually at war with Iran. Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's when I think it came out on Friday, and then I don't know. Is this a big viral ad for Apple TV? Who's to say? But yeah, we launched a lot of strikes, F-35s, F-15s, F-22s, a lot of B-2s, some B-1s getting in the game. We did have, I think, 3 or 4 F-15E Strike Eagles shot down this morning in Kuwait. And I just want to say, get out there. A lot of people are saying now the F-15 is 104-3 lifetime because it got shot down 3 times today. We're talking about air-to-air kills here. Okay, it appears that what happened was it was shot down by ground defense systems in Kuwait, friendly ground defense systems, by mistake, which lends itself to an entire new line of questioning of why did the Patriot systems there not have their friend or foe identification in sync with these F-15s. But for the record, as of right now, the F-15 Eagle still 104-0 lifetime in the skies.
So I hadn't seen this. Have you seen this video?
Yeah.
Of the guy, the pilot of the F-15 that got shot down. I guess he ejected in time.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys in Kuwait come and find him and help him.
Yeah, so I believe that everybody survived the ejection. There were some minor injuries from what I've seen, but I don't think a pilot was killed, but losing 4 of those aircraft is like it's not nothing, but I don't think that it was shot down by Iran. In fact, from what I've heard, the only air-to-air kills that have happened have been from an F-35 that shot down maybe some MiG-29s. The poor F-22. I don't know if you can figure out a corollary. Why can't I say this word? Corollary. In terms of sports or anything else, Big T, but the F-22 has been next up, and it's been like the goat of the skies, and it still hasn't shot anything down. So it's been the unquestioned air dominance fighter for the last like 30 years. Nothing's fucked with it, but it doesn't have any confirmed kills air to air besides the Chinese spy balloon. It shot down that balloon off the coast of South Carolina a couple years ago. But it's been like in and around combat. But when we deploy it, opposing air forces, they just kind of like keep their shit grounded because they're like, if it flies, it dies with the F-22 in the combat theater. So it's like so good that it hasn't had a chance to kill yet.
Wow. What does one of those F-15s cost?
I don't know what an F-15 costs. Not as much as the F-35 because the F-15 is like an old platform from the 1970s, 1980s, but it's been upgraded recently. So the F-15Es they're not cheap.
Wall Street Journal just published an hour ago. Only 31 million. I would have guessed 3-4 times that.
Yeah, they're older platforms.
Okay.
They're like missile trucks. You can put a bunch of shit on them. So I guess we're kind of at war. I don't know what the objectives are. I do have what the most recent report from the White House is on our objectives, if you'd like to hear, because they're saying it's not regime change.
So that is my biggest question in all of this is why.
Yeah, it's there's a couple different explanations for it. One, we're saying that they can never have a nuclear weapon, but we've kind of been in this dance and negotiation back and forth with Iran for the last 20 years.
30 years.
30 years, and we have been negotiating with them to the point where we had a deal in place. We tore that up. Then we bombed their nuclear weapons manufacturing facilities, and then we said that we got all of them. But now we have to take them out again because the regime will use nukes if they have them, which they don't. And we want to prevent that from ever happening. Now we're saying it's to liberate the Iranian people, which, listen, Ayatollah, bad guy. The regime, bad people in charge. But now we don't really have a plan for what's going to happen afterwards. Again, we can do this to any country on earth. That's the thing about the United States military. If we wanted to, if you gave us a month, 2 months to figure out how to take out the leadership of any country on the planet and how to get past their air defenses and how to fight an aerial battle that way, we could do it and we could dominate at it. But then what? Now we're in the then what category where who knows what's going to happen after this. So I'm seeing that we killed 49 of the most senior Iranian regime leaders. So that's now we're like, who takes over the country?
I don't know.
It's getting PTSD from Iraq.
Yeah, I mean,
No pun intended.
we don't have boots on the ground. We're not ruling out putting boots on the ground. But also, they said that one of the airplanes that was used in these strikes were the A-10s, and the A-10s are close air support planes, which you don't use those except if you have boots on the ground. They're a plane that like comes in to help out your troops that are on the ground. So I don't know if we do have boots on the ground. We're just not talking about it. But I don't know why we'd send those planes in if we didn't have them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very nuanced situation, but I got a homegirl who's from Iran, and she was extremely happy that dude was killed. Like she was like almost crying, and so was her mom. And so again, I was a nuanced situation, but just gotta see how it plays out. I don't know. I'm anti-war, but
Yeah,
I think it's just
crazy,
all
man.
very confusing right now. Like there doesn't seem to be a clear message on why. Now, nobody is pro Khomeini. Like,
No.
it's a good thing that he's dead, pending whatever happens after that. But it just seems like nobody's really clear on why this is going on, what the end goal is. Is this going to be a perpetual thing? Like, there needs to be a clear message.
And I don't know if we have a clear message. Like,
No.
in Iraq, if anyone out there is too young to remember the start of the Iraq War, it started out being like, this is because they have weapons of mass destruction and they're going to destroy the world. And then the second we started the invasion, it became, oh, we're actually here to liberate the Iraqi people. And they're going to greet us as liberators, which they did. Like, we took over the country. They tore down that statue of Saddam Hussein. There's interfighting factions that were in place in Iraq that a lot of people were excited to see Saddam go, because Saddam was a bad guy and he killed a lot of people and he gassed the Kurds and he was just a very, very bad human being and the regime sucked. But then afterwards, now that we've quote unquote liberated that country, what do we do afterwards to make sure that it just doesn't become rife feeding ground for terrorism, for people that now have no job, no direction, and enormous caches of weapons that they can take over, and then a hatred for the United States who just destabilized their entire country. That's what the question now becomes. And Iran has a shitload of weapons. I don't know if we're going to be as dumb as we were in Iraq, where we take over the country and then we just kind of fire their entire military. And now you've got hundreds of thousands of military-aged males on the street not getting paid. And it's like, what do they do? I don't know if we have thought that through for Iran. I don't know if we're even going to address it. But our objectives seem to be going back and forth between liberating the country from bad leadership, which is a legitimate thing that they've got shithead leaders. And there's a lot of people who are very thankful that that leadership is gone, which I understand. There's that aspect. There's getting rid of any of their weapons of mass destruction, which I don't know if that was ever a real thing, a real threat that they had. And then there's they are the world's #1 sponsor of terrorism, which kind of just means that they supply weapons and that sort of thing to other, like, quote unquote terroristic organizations around the world. And I say quote unquote because there's a lot that are legitimately, yes, terrorism, but then we can always just designate whatever group that we're currently fighting against as a terrorist and then be like, why is Iran giving them weapons? So this is very complicated. I don't know if everyone's thought through the long-term aspects outside of we're the United States and we can dominate any country in the world with our air superiority, which we did. And we proved that, like, Iran had some great, in theory, great weapon systems that they had that they thought could handle a lot of our Air Force and a lot of our Navy. And our strategy was just, it worked pretty good for us in the initial 36 hours. But I don't know what our strategy is for after that. And that's what we have to keep an eye on.
And it feels odd to me. Y'all tell me if you disagree with this. It feels like there isn't even really a party differentiation in, like, people's thoughts on this. Like, I think now there are some people who just hate Trump. Anything that Trump does is whatever. But even Trump supporters generally, I think, are like I saw a tweet from Matt Walsh earlier today that was like, well, okay, so we were told it was to destroy their nuclear arsenal, but we already did that. Yeah. It's not for regime change, but we decimated their entire regime. It's not to free the Iranian people, but now maybe they're free. Mm-hmm. Just nobody really knows what to make of anything.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard the Iranian regime constantly refer to us as being the great Satan and to Israel as being the little Satan. And in standing with Israel, I think that was a pretty big force where Netanyahu wanted help and wanted support in this fight against Iran. So now it's like we've got ourselves an alliance fighting this country that wasn't really a direct threat to us at all. And now we're maybe getting involved in another long-term quagmire in the Middle East. But as J.D. Vance said, the difference is all those presidents that we used to have were dumb, and now we don't have a dumb president. So we'll figure it out this time. But here's the thing. All right? I've seen people saying, like, you don't have the information that the government has, blah, 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 blah. In my lifetime, I'm just going to do this, see if I can think of it off the top of my head. Ronald Reagan was the first president when I was born. Ronald Reagan did the Iran-Contra thing where he was doing arms for hostages, lied to the American people about what was going on with that. George H.W. Bush got us into the Iraq War Volume 1 with Kuwait. But he also was involved in funding both sides of Iran and Iraq when they were fighting with each other. So they lied to us about what was going on with that as well. Then Bill Clinton fired some missiles at like a soap factory, and that one might have been in Africa, but there was another one that was in the Middle East to distract us from getting a blowjob from Monica Lewinsky, and said that was under the name of defending us. Also, the USS Cole disaster that we then did not respond to, which became 9/11 with Al-Qaeda. Then George W. Bush going to war with Iraq because it was about WMDs, but really it was because they tried to kill his dad. And then after that, Obama shooting a bunch of missiles at American citizens overseas, ignoring atrocities in Yemen, bombing people in Yemen. Then you have
Syria.
Then you have Syria, and then you have the initial Trump administration and the Biden administration ignoring Saudi blockades of Yemen, where now we've got hundreds of thousands of people dying over there that we kind of don't care about because of our business interests with Saudi Arabia, and a lot of different things going on with how we've treated Iran via negotiation or via threats of warfare, or now via warfare. So it seems to me like for the last 40 years that I've been alive, we've got a pretty good track record of having our leaders lie to the American people about what we're doing in that part of the world. So I'm going to be skeptical until I hear good reason why we should be doing it and why we should be over there with any sort of like permanent stake outside of the oil that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. But it feels like that's what most of it is about, usually over there. I don't think that we would particularly care about that part of the world if they weren't so vital to getting gas. I don't think that's... Is that lib of me to think that? I don't think that's lib. I think that's pretty realistic.
That's pretty on brand for the U.S. Didn't Trump say like last year that we struck Iranian nuclear sites?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
we did.
And so
That's Midnight Hammer.
that's what's confusing, I guess, because he said it was totally obliterated, but now we're taking out their missiles. I'm not in conspiracy world, but the streets is talking. Streets is talking. We could be carrying Israel's lunch for them, doing their dirty work.
Yeah.
That would also be on brand for America. Like I said, I don't know, but streets is talking.
Iran has, they've definitely funded a lot of the terror against Israel, a lot of the attacks against Israel. They've been key to a lot of the violence that's happened over there. So I would understand why Israel would want some help in taking them out, which we have been happy to provide. But again, I go back to like what we said when we did this in Venezuela. Like, did your life get better? I don't know that it did. I don't know that anyone's life here got better. Now, it is, if you're an Iranian citizen that has lived under that regime, yes, 100%, your life did get better. And there's a lot of people in the United States that have family back over there that hated that regime. Yes, your life is better with the absence of that regime, but then what's going to spring up in its place afterwards, and how stable is that country going to be afterwards? That's the question that we have to wait and find out.
This is a dumb planet we live on.
It is a dumb planet. It's a dumb planet. But again, the most important thing you can take away from this is that the F-15s did not get shot down in an air-to-air combat situation. So the 104-0 lifetime record, that stands to this day.
How many planes get shot down air to air these days anyway?
Not a lot. Not a lot. So if you ever have, I don't know the exact numbers, but like if you get one pilot that shoots down two aircraft, that's like a big day in terms of global aviation. You remember that Pakistani and Indian Air Force battle that we had? That was the biggest air battle that we've had since World War II. Because you don't see it as much anymore with planes that are now shooting like 100-mile missiles.
Right.
So you don't really get into the dogfights anymore.
And also the ground to air stuff is so advanced that
You're way more likely to get shot down via an ground to air, surface to air missile
right.
than you are anything else. By the way, there's been so much video game content that's been passed off as being.
I got got by one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of it. Did you get got by that plane that was like flying away from the missile?
Yes.
That missile here's
That's a video game?
It's a video game, but it's like in that movie Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson. When you see a plane that's like flying around and a missile that's just chasing it the entire time, that's not how it works. Like the missiles are so much faster than the planes are, where if there's a missile that's going to hit a plane, it's going to slam into it really. It's not going to be chasing it like through the woods or anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, if a plane is like going about the same speed as a missile, that the plane's going to win. It's going to steer away from it.
I guess I can say I didn't get got because I saw it and I assumed it was real, but I checked and then I found that it wasn't. So I guess I didn't get got completely.
There you go. It's been but I've seen a lot of people that have gotten got by video game content recently.
I trusted, but then verified.
Yeah. So in conclusion, Ayatollah Khomeini is dead.
Died like a dog.
Died like a dog. I think Mahmoud Ahmadinejad might be dead as well.
Saw that.
Tough
I didn't know he was
University
still
of Michigan.
University of Michigan.
He's a big Wolverine fan. Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's real.
There's some great tweets. He's had some sports takes over the years. Yeah. Look it up.
I remember his name from 10, 15 years ago. I didn't know he was still around.
Yeah, he's been hanging around for a while. So I think he's dead. Pretty much their top 50 people are dead. Trump said now the problem that we're running into is we've killed so many of the guys that we had maybe pegged to take over the country that who knows what's going to happen.
Here's an article from the Detroit Free Press in October of 2018. Ex-Iran president says Michigan football will return to glory days.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Mm-hmm.
What is his connection?
I don't know. Did he go to school there? He's also been very vocal about Colin Kaepernick over the years.
What are you talking about?
The former president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
No, I'm saying, what is he talking about Cap?
That Cap should be back in the league.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Okay. So here's a tweet from September of 2018 from him. The NFL season will start this week. Unfortunately, once again, Kaepernick is at Kaepernick 7 is not on an NFL roster, even though he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone said, "Dear Mahmoud, we have much bigger problems here. Michigan is 8-8 in its last 16 games under Jim Harbaugh. Also, college football is the only authentic football. Cordially, Fred." And he replied back, "With a hard work ethic, inshallah, the U of M will return to its glory days." Is this real?
Yeah, it's real. That's actually him.
That's hilarious, dog.
That's crazy.
Hey, man, dictators and authoritarians like sports too, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have had him pegged for a Colin Kaepernick guy.
It's tough to nail him down.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, we you can't, just when you think you know a guy. What else we got in the news today? We've got scientists that confirm a biblical earthquake, Big T.
Yeah, Arian, did you read about this?
Yeah, that's not what happened. But I'd like to hear your version. Go ahead.
Well, what's not what happened?
That.
Are you saying exactly the way he just described it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not what I said. You don't know what I said yet.
I was talking to PFT.
They confirmed an earthquake.
Brother. Get off the road, brother. We on the same.
They confirmed an earthquake that happened between 26 and 36 AD. That sounds very much like the earthquake described in Matthew when Jesus died.
How did they confirm it?
Hold, please. I lost my place. The Dead Sea itself lies in a deep basin formed by this movement and is the lowest place on land on Earth. The region has experienced frequent earthquakes over the past century, and historical and archaeological records show that quakes have occurred there for at least 4,000 years. Scientists found layers of sediment beneath the Dead Sea that appear bent and disturbed. They believe these distortions were caused by ancient earthquakes triggered by movement along the fault line. By studying sediment layers at Ein Gedi, Gedi, near the Dead Sea, the team was able to read the Earth's history year by year. Each year, the lake deposits a layer of sediment, a heavier winter layer, and a lighter summer layer. By counting these layers, called varves, researchers can figure out how many years passed and identify unusual events like earthquakes. Some layers were deformed, meaning the sediment was bent or broken. Scientists interpreted these deformed layers as evidence of ancient earthquakes. By tracking these layers across 2 core samples, they built a timeline of earthquakes and yearly sediment deposits from 31 BC to 31 AD. The sediment also records climate conditions, such as after a major earthquake in 31 BC, the summer layers were thinner and contained more gypsum, which suggested a drought. Historical records like those written by the Jewish historian Josephus described famine and dry conditions in Judea at the same time, supporting the evidence from these sediments. Last paragraph. Using the timeline, scientists tried to identify which earthquake could match the one described in the Bible at the time of Jesus' crucifixion. Based on their analysis, the quake most likely occurred between 26 and 36 AD during the period when Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea. So it seems they identified a big earthquake in a 10-year period that would match when Jesus died. Not necessarily.
Within 10 years.
Yeah.
Within a 10-year span. Okay. And how many earthquakes happen in that part of the world? And how frequently?
Well, they said there's been earthquakes there. I don't know how many in that 10-year period.
Okay.
The team also compared these sediments to other earthquakes reported in the region, including quakes in 19, 37, 47, and 48 AD. None were close enough or strong enough to have left the same marks in the Eid Gedi sediments.
What do you think, Aaron?
I think it's confirmation bias. The lead author of the study, he said, all right, I got it pulled up. Hold on. He said, if I had a do-over, I would never have mentioned those years since the only relevant textual information of our 3 conclusions was the date range of 26 to 36 AD. We are not New Testament scholars and did not try to add textual information to come up with an exact date.
Yeah, I don't think they said
they weren't set out to like prove that. I think they were just doing like geological work, and then like a biblical, either a website or a person trying to fill the claim, used that.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's fair to say they found an earthquake that matches the time that there's an earthquake described in the Bible. I don't think they were trying to confirm that.
Okay.
And I don't think you can, like, the evidence matches. It does not necessarily, you would say, confirm.
Okay, I have a question, Big T. And
Not
this
really,
might
though.
make me sound like
There's an earthquake in a 10-year window.
Well, right. I mean, yeah, they didn't pinpoint the
this
day it
might
happened.
make me sound like a non-believer. I just want to preface it with all this.
Well, you are. So
I'm not trying
makes
to.
sense.
I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's faith or any of that.
I don't
stuff.
care at all. I don't need this.
Wouldn't the same science that they're using to show that there was an earthquake at this time 2,000 years ago be the exact same type of science that has been used to show when dinosaurs walked on the planet and that the Earth is much older than it says that it is in the Bible?
I think you are ascribing a necessary young Earth theory that isn't, like, not every Christian is a young Earth theorist.
Okay, all right. I might be discrediting young Earth.
Well, no, there are people who believe that.
That
There are some who don't.
How old do the young Earth people think the Earth is?
I've heard 6,000 and 8,000
Yeah, it's
somewhere in there.
about 6,000
Yeah.
years old. Maybe a little over 6,000.
Okay.
They just follow the lineage of what is it, Abraham? That whole lineage.
Mhm.
Okay, that was just my question.
There are some who believe, like Adam, how Adam was not formed as a baby. The Earth was created with an inbuilt age.
Mm-hmm. All right. I got one other thing I want to get to today. It is the anthropic stuff. Have you been paying attention to this?
I know of it. I'm not well versed in it.
So my understanding is that Anthropic, they are an AI firm that has been creating their product Claude for the last several years, and it's now.
I've been using Claude
And you like it?
every day for the last 2 weeks.
You enjoy it?
It is an interesting technology, to say the least.
So they have withdrawn themselves from working with the Department of Defense, saying that there are 2 red lines that they had in their negotiations with the government that they would not cross. And those 2 lines are that their product will never be used as an autonomous killing piece of software where humans are taken completely out of the loop. So they don't want their AI systems to be responsible from cradle to grave of identifying a threat, killing the threat without a human being being the one that okays it. That was the one red line that they are not okay with. The other one is they don't want their software to be used for mass surveillance of United States citizens. And the Department of Defense said they are not comfortable with those things, so they have terminated their relationship, although I do think that Claude was used in some of the plans and the attacks in Iran. So,
and Maduro.
Yeah. So they're offboarding, but it's like a long-term offboarding.
What does that mean, by the way?
What do you mean?
That Claude was used?
I don't see. That's the question I had. Is like, there's a lot of words that people are saying, but I don't know what these AI systems have been authorized to do inside of our Department of Defense. I don't know what they're doing, and I don't think a lot of people truly understand how much of that entire branch of our government is being run by artificial intelligence right now. What do you use it for, Aaron?
He's been making apps.
There is a technology that this dude came out with. I forget his name, something Finn. It's called OpenClaw. OpenClaw is kind of changing the game, and my engineer, but I think it's going to be mainstream and maybe by the end of the year. OpenClaw is basically I guess the best way to put it is and I'm not an expert in this shit, so I just know what I've been taught. My buddy's an engineer, and we've been kind of grinding. We vibe code now. But OpenClaw is basically like it's a program that allows your AI to be interfaced with your any app that you want. So like say you want to connect your AI with your messages, your WhatsApp, your Discord, your DoorDash, whatever the case may be, and it allows it to kind of like interweave itself with it. So you're like, so I have it for Discord and I have a separate channel because there's still a lot of security risks with it. And so Claude is like one of the best ones out probably. And so you have Claude and you have OpenClaw. OpenClaw takes an AI and allows it to interface with, like, let's say Discord, right? So right now I have a channel in Discord where I give it certain permissions. And so I have I have a Mac Mini. And so it is in my Mac Mini. So I could type it and say, open up Google and research this, and it'll do that. I can say whatever. It's why like coding is kind of like it codes for me. So like I've just been building like small stuff here and there, but like I think it's gonna birth, like, you know, the dead internet theory.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna birth that, and that's gonna explode because you're gonna have an influx of people understanding now that they can code. You don't need a person to code anymore. Like I'm coding, and I don't know shit about coding, but like I'm starting to understand it, like slowly but surely. Like there's stuff I can do now, like small stuff, like I can debug what's going on, but still I use the AI to do so. And so it's really going to be a matter of how creative can you get with it, like how creative can you be and think of what you can do. And I really think shit is limitless, and it's going to be dangerous. So I kind of wanted to get ahead of it. So I'm understanding it on a very surface level, but like I said, me and my buddies, we sit and we code for like hours. We're building stuff. We're building small apps. He's building, and then he'll kind of walk me through like all these different things, like getting accounts on GitHub, and GitHub is kind of like this. It's where your app lives. It's where whatever you're building lives.
Yeah.
And teaching me all about branches and different things about coding. It's really interesting. But long story short, Claude is like probably one of the best AIs out, and OpenClaw has kind of unleashed that inside of any given app, and it's kind of wild. I think what's going to end up happening is as soon as these robots get active, they gon' use OpenClaw or a program like OpenClaw, and it's gonna give it like life almost. It's fucking fascinating.
So yeah, give me an example of like if I let it into my my messages. Yeah. If I just like let Claude off his leash, what would he do?
Right. Well, so the first thing that they teach you to do when you get into it is like give it a constitution, right? Give it boundaries and give it rules. Now, what hackers are good at is finding that and then telling it to do other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to be very careful. And that's why I'm not giving it any access to like any of my personal shit. It's just I bought an entire different computer for it to live on. Um, so I guess what can it do? It can read all your messages. It can answer messages for you. Say, hey, anytime Big T text me, just respond fuck off or whatever, right? Anything it could do anything. Like, and if you let's say I want to connect it to my DoorDash, right? I can give it a prompt and say, okay, I'll set up a camera in my fridge, monitor all of the ingredients in my fridge. Tell me what I can make. You can go even deeper. You can be like, okay, I'm gonna give you access to my DoorDash. Look at all the ingredients from my fridge for a week, and then when things get low, reorder all my groceries for me, and it'll just do it.
Okay.
And it's fucking and that's like the low level shit. Like I said, it's gonna be able to do however like whatever you creatively come up with. It's fascinating.
Okay.
Like right now I'm creating a golf app that is fire. So it's like a golf betting app to where like you can bet your homeboys on the games that you play. And right, like I got like 22 games programmed, and I'll show you when it's done out when the beta test is out. But like this shit is fire. Like I'm just doing it for the cats I golf with, but I think other people are going to want it because I'm adding so much other shit to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna be fire.
Yeah, I am a little bit. I'm wary to put it. Just like let this AI system loose on my shit.
Well, don't do that. They say don't do that. Like,
But there's a lot of people
don't
who
do that.
will be doing that, I would imagine.
Absolutely, and those people that is Darwinism. It is what it is. Uh, I like I said, I have an entire different computer system that this lives on. I don't give it access to none of my real stuff, like none of my emails. None of I created an entire different email, Apple ID. All of this shit is brand new, just for him to live on. And it's just I'm just experimenting. I'm creating apps. I'm building websites. I'm researching, and it's it's the future. It's here, dog. Like it's here. It is absolutely here. Have you seen the Seed Dance stuff?
No.
Seed Dance is a video AI maker that I think launched in China. Dog, that shit is crazy. It is not. I don't know, man. Like I said, like that. The more and more I look into, it, more and more I'm like, okay, I gotta stop fighting this. This is here. Like, learn the shit. It is here. It's not going nowhere. These companies are investing billions and billions, and like as much as I want to be like, yeah, but there's no usage of it, it's gonna happen. Something's going to shake. I mean, the government is starting to get involved. Like this shit is crazy, dog. So just get some kind of surface level understanding of what's going on, and like and keep up on it, because this shit is going to be, I think OpenClaw, or like a technology like OpenClaw, is going to be mainstream either by the end of the year or in the next year.
The guy from Anthropic that was like, we're bowing out of this. We'll try to help the Department of Defense if they need to transition to somebody else. Like I kind of respect what that guy's doing, which is walking away from giant military contracts. And then you see thirsty ass Sam Altman be like, we'll do it. We have none of those safeguards in place that we need to care about.
Yeah. I don't know if I like that guy.
I don't think I do.
I don't think anyone
There was another,
does.
I don't know if it was Sam Altman, but there was another dude. We were talking about AI music, which again, I'm diametrically opposed to AI music. But there's this dude, he was in an interview and he says, no, it's so nobody really wants to make music anymore. It's so hard. It's so taxing. You gotta sit there and learn a whole new instrument. You gotta write all these lyrics. Like nobody wants to do that. I want to be able to make music just by the pushes of buttons. And like,
No.
what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Yeah.
Like, somebody needs to backslap this motherfucker in his head. I hate this dude. But it's like that's where we're going.
That guy's just
Nerdy
being lazy.
motherfuckers
It's
are
like
gonna
nobody
continue
wants
to
to
push
learn an
this.
instrument. Yeah, that shit's hard to do, and that's what makes it great.
Yes. That's the beauty of it. Yes, absolutely. But again, they don't care. They don't give a fuck, and they're gonna. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
I saw a tweet that said we only had 100 years of recorded music and video before AI,
Mhm.
and so like in 500 years, like it will have been odd to have lived during that period.
Yeah. The time period where you were making shit.
Yeah.
How lucky
Unrelated,
were
I
we?
seen a wild stat. T-Rex lived closer to us than T-Rex lived to Stegosaurus.
That is crazy, yeah.
That's wild, dog.
What's the one about the pyramids?
Oh, the pyramids existed.
Like Caesar was closer to now than the pyramids or something?
Or like Cleopatra. Cleopatra
That
lived
might be
I heard
it.
that one.
closer to us
Yeah.
than she did the pyramid. I don't know.
Like yeah, that's what I think. Cleopatra lived closer to the building of the first Taco Bell than she did the pyramid, the building of the pyramid.
All right, well, we'll have more to dive into on Thursday's macrodosing as this stuff shakes out overseas. It feels like wave 1 was the initial bombing, targeting, took out their leadership. Now Iran's going to try to respond somehow. We don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of a scary time to be involved in Mideast politics because nobody has any fucking idea what's going to happen over the next 3 days. And if they say that they do, they're lying to you. But we will talk more on Thursday. Anything else?
While we were talking about AI, you saw that the AI models, when you involve them in like war simulations, they choose nuclear war 95% of the time.
They always go to nuclear war, yeah.
And even after they people tried to get them to stop doing that, they still did it.
We had so many different pieces of, I don't want to say art. We had so many films that came out, so many TV shows that came out that were about the dangers of AI taking over our systems and bombing ourselves. And then the people that make the AI systems grew up watching those sci-fi movies, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. Let's make that.
Yeah.
Let's make that. We should do it. We've got Josh Pate coming up. Big T and Josh Pate bro out together hard. And Josh Pate's brought to you by Pebble. If you are hiring in another country right now, you know that once you do, things can get complicated fast, but that's where Pebble can help. You can send offers in minutes to anyone in the world and get them onboarded fast. Pebble is an AI-powered global human resources platform built for founders, HR leaders, and operators who are hiring and supporting teams around the world. Pebble helps you hire, pay, and manage talent in over 185 countries with fast onboarding that can be done in minutes. Instead of juggling separate tools for contracts, payroll, benefits, and compliance, Pebble brings everything together. They have built-in guidance. They have local expertise to support you. This is especially helpful if you're managing teams internationally or if you're planning on growing. The fastest growing companies in the world use Pebble to stay organized and reduce risk. Founders use it to scale faster without feeling like they need to become HR or compliance experts. The bottom line, it simplifies global people operations so you can spend more time growing the business and supporting your team. Our new standard discounted pricing is $399 per month per employee. That helps you constrain costs. Go to highpebble.ai to get a free estimate. That's HIPEBLAI. Get a free estimate with Pebble. $399 US per month per employee. It helps you contain costs. Check it out, highpebble.ai, to get a free estimate today. All right, now here is Josh Pate talking tea. Okay, we welcome on a very special guest. I think it's a very special guest. Big T thinks that this is the biggest possible guest that we could ever have.
This is a legacy-defining moment
Josh,
for me.
you know how when you interviewed the president, that's how Big T views this interview.
I'd say
with
even
you.
more.
You are his president.
Yeah.
Have you considered, T, how many subs you're going to lose by interviewing me? I mean, if we're really trying to correlate this one versus
I hope
one,
not many.
It's crazy world out there this time of year. First off, you get the reports, like you get the analytics feedback. Hey, man, YouTube's wiping out some bot accounts this spring, so just be ready. So you don't really know what the cause is. Is it because we had Trump on? Is it because YouTube's just doing some spring cleaning? Is it a little bit of both? Do people just hate me all of a sudden? I don't know.
Listen, I had your back. I think you saw the clip of what we talked about on this show. I said if the president wants to come on your podcast, I would personally always interview the president. That's kind of how I would look at it. I just thought that it was a strange time. It's like right after college football season's over. That's the point that I was making. Then he comes on the show. But then Big T obviously has some thoughts about you, and I think he's a real big fan of yours, Josh. And so I really kind of wanted to let Big T cook on this interview. because this is, like I said, the biggest thing that he's ever done. So, Big T, I'm just going to say,
wow, you're just tossing it.
I'm going to toss it to you immediately. The floor is yours. You got the ball, buddy.
All right, so I guess we started with, there he is.
Here's Arian.
Hey, sorry for being a little,
All good.
That's okay. We've started with JP, but just barely.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Well, welcome in, Arian. Josh, we talked about Trump for a second. I'm just curious. Anyone begrudging you just for having the president on, I think that's dumb. You have the president on 11 times out of 10. Did the interview go how you thought it was going to go? In the moment, did you find yourself at all thinking this isn't exactly what I envisioned it being? And did you feel the same afterwards as you did going into it?
I didn't know how to feel going into it. So it's obviously like a one-of-one situation. So I kind of tried to, I don't know, stay flexible, stay open-minded or whatnot. No, it didn't go at all like I thought it was going to go. What we did was we had them reach out to us and they said, we're going to do an event down in Rome, Georgia. President kind of wants to do the show. Like, would you be open to it? I said, yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a game week during the year where we have everything regimented. So it's very much a flexible time of year. Yeah, let's do it. And I kind of told the White House comms folks, I said, look, my show is not one where we're going to get political. Like we're not discussing strategy on Iran. We're not talking the economy. There's a lot going on in college football. If we want to go down that road, yeah, I'm open to it. So they said, that's all agreeable. So we get down there. We had like 40 minutes carved out for that sit down. And they got out of DC that morning, I want to say like 2 hours behind schedule. And they had an event that night that had a set start time. So like your portion of the day is the one that can expand and compress. Like our portion of the day is the middle of the accordion. And so, I go in there thinking we're about to get 40 minutes with him. I guess a lot of this is out of your control, but then all of a sudden it becomes 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes. And look, like you gotta think, if you've ever watched the president talk, it can go really, really long-winded. It could go a bunch of different ways, but he could be really long-winded. So like I had to ask myself, all right, if I know I've got 10 minutes here, do I run the risk of asking like a really in-depth question that he just goes 8 minutes on an answer with? And you didn't even have an interview at that point. It was just one question, one long answer. Okay, Secret Service is wrapping you. We're done. And so, looking back on it, we got like 5 questions in. It didn't really dive too deep. There wasn't a ton of meat on the bone. So, you can like Monday morning quarterback it or whatever. But yeah, suffice it to say, it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Not necessarily anyone's fault or anything like that. But if I knew we were only going to get 10, as opposed to going in thinking 35, 45, that's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm. I knew that anytime he does an interview about sports, he's going to figure out a way to talk about the NFL kickoff rule. And that's his that's his ham and eggs answer. It's like, okay, play the hits. We need to make sure that college football doesn't adopt the NFL kickoff rule. Did you get a sense? Did you even get a chance to feel him out on like where he sees this whole like the government process now getting involved in college sports and the direction they want to go with that? I know that they're having like a meeting with Saban and a bunch of stuff. Like what do you think the government could do, if anything, about the state of college sports?
Yeah, I think the conversation with him off camera was probably more substantive than the interview that we had on camera. And I mean, he was really open. We were just sitting there talking while they're setting up your shots and everything. It's just me and him at a lunch table, basically talking like it's your buddy on a Tuesday afternoon. And you're just going to get barbecue in your work break hour or your like lunch hour. So he said basically something to the effect of, I know it is a mess. We're trying to get all the commissioners. We're trying to get everyone up to DC. We're trying to do like a roundtable kind of sit down, get them all in the same room sort of deal. So we can be educated on it because like we don't even know what moves to make necessarily. We don't know what they're willing to do from a federal government standpoint. Where does it even make sense to get involved? Can you get Congress on board with getting involved? And so he was like, it was kind of a, I know what I don't know, but I want to know it sort of deal. And then he drops the whole, we were going to have him up there a few weeks ago. Then this Iran stuff came up. And so we had to postpone it. And so we had to push it down the road. And so that's what they kind of announced last week. That's coming up maybe this Friday. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to tell you is Iran has prevented college football from getting its act together.
God damn it.
Always happens that way. It happened in the 90s. It's happening again.
Yep. All right, Big T, what else you got?
I was actually thinking in the last minute or two, I have this question for you, but I was thinking about it for Trump also. I was going to ask, compare your show to a college football program if you had to do that. And I was thinking about Trump. I think Trump is Miami.
Okay.
I think he had a run at a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Very divisive.
Not Penn State? Go on.
That was just a layup.
No, but
definitely a layup.
No, there's a better one out there than that.
What's that?
Which one?
I mean, look, I think he's more UCF, where it really doesn't matter what the outside world claims you've done. If you believe you've done it, you hang the banner.
I see that.
You never apologize for it. You're 2017 national champs. And they don't even smile when they tell you that, by the way. We're national champs in 2017. You don't believe us? Go to our stadium. There's the banner.
You know what kills me
It's
about
almost like,
that,
what's
by
your
the
problem?
way, is the logo they made that says national champions. They put a peach in it where the O is because they won the Peach Bowl, not the national championship. They admit in their own stupid logo that they didn't win anything. Regardless, I was going to say about Trump, had a run, very successful but very divisive, dormant for a while, then comes back on the national stage as of the last year.
I like Josh's take, though. It's like,
No, but I do see that.
Blake Bortles is the greatest quarterback this country's ever seen.
Nobody's ever seen anyone like him.
And
there's never been anything like
that's
it.
the bottom line. That's the bottom line about it. So, Josh, you got to see a lot of feedback from all sides of the internet after this. I feel like now you just – I like what you did. You're like, I'm just going back to doing Josh Pate football stuff. I'm going to start ranking programs. I'm going to start talking about who hates who. We're just going to move forward, and we're going to go back to what made us great in the first place. So how do you go about coming up with college football content in late February, early March?
To me, like back before I ever got on a microphone and I just worked normal jobs, I just think, okay, well, what would I be talking about at lunch? Because we did the same thing every day. I worked construction for a little while and then warehouses for a little while. I had the same group of friends. We all lived in the same town. We went to the same barbecue joint Monday through Friday. We talked about the same stuff. Normally, college football was like 80% of the pie, and then 20% was how broke are you? So, like the stuff you would talk about off air is really seamlessly transferable to on air. Maybe dress it up a little bit, maybe make it a little more listicle. But you kind of know what moves the needle year round. You just got to bridge it to spring practice. Then if you can bridge it to spring, then you go hit the road and you interview 30 guys and then maybe take a couple weeks off in the summer. But I think if you can cover the NBA year round and you can cover the NFL year round, there's no excuse for not covering college football year round.
Yeah,
Amen.
I would agree with that. What did you think of the list that came out that had Brandon Walker ranked? What was he ranked? Like number 50th?
Well, he was off it to begin with.
What do you think about Brandon Walker complaining his way onto a list of most influential college football personalities?
Well, how else is he going to get on the list?
Yeah.
I kind of ask it that way. I think the worst thing to happen to Brandon Walker was, I don't know what happened to Big Game Boomer. Big Game Boomer had it going for a long time. And look, even I regret that he just kind of retired from the internet. And he's the dude who named Brandon Walker number one, whatever. I was featured on that list. Like, I was appreciative. I finished solid top 5. People took those lists so personally.
Very.
If you remember when BGB would drop one of his top 20, top 50, like he dropped the top 50 pizza restaurants in college towns. And I think he made Tuscaloosa's just a Pizza Hut or a Domino's. And they lost it. They lost it on him. And he was so good because he never sold that it was a joke. He never sold. And so Brandon Walker being number one college football personality, that's kind of like Domino's being the best pizza joint in your hometown. Everybody kind of knows it's a joke, but you go along with it. You have fun with it. And then the dude disappeared. And now I don't know what we're left with.
Josh, if you had been number one on that list, would you have gotten a maybe 5 foot by 2 foot banner of that made and hung it in your studio?
I think you got to do something. I think you got to invite Big Game Boomer. He's one of those guys who lives like theater of the mind because you've never been able to see him because he never put himself out there. He just kind of made his list. So I'd love to have Big Game Boomer. I'd love to bring him to town like back in the day. I can't remember what team it was. It may have been like the 92 Alabama team. There was one AP voter that just kept voting them number one. And everybody else had Miami number one. So Bama beats Miami for the national title, and they have their national title parade. And this dude from like Arizona, an AP voter, they bring him to town and just added him to the celebration. I would have done that with Big Game Boomer. I would still do that with Big Game Boomer. I just don't know his whereabouts now.
Yeah, he disappeared. We got to track him down. Josh, while we have you here, I want to give you the opportunity to apologize to me personally for the disrespect that you heaved at James Madison University this year, saying that they don't belong in the college football playoff when I believe they were the only team to cover the spread in the first round.
And good for them. Yeah, backdoor style, but good for them.
You could say backdoor. I think Oregon played a lot of their starters in that second half. I don't think it was against the backups.
All right, so let's undress this. Because I say a lot, so I've just learned to tune myself out. What exactly did I say that in a perfect setup they wouldn't be in, or did I say they didn't belong in the current setup?
I think, if I recall, you were one of the let's have an adult conversation about James Madison football. In that course where it was like, do they really belong in the college football playoff?
All right, let me ask you this.
Oh, wait, are we having an adult conversation?
Well, at least TV 14.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go adult.
Conversation.
Full on adult. Adults in the room, no biases, if that's possible. Do you think it's reasonable to suggest 138 teams play the same caliber of the sport?
Are 138 teams as good as each? No, some teams are better than others. I'll give you that.
I don't mean, so forget teams, because any given year, like teams fluctuate. I'm just talking about the caliber of program, what kind of resources you're dealing from, what your quality of competition is. In the NFL, we got 32 of them. In college football, allegedly, we have 138 teams right now gunning for the same championship. We're supposed to pretend like LSU and UL Monroe are playing the same caliber of the sport, which has always been insane.
I don't think that anyone pretends that Louisiana Monroe and LSU are playing the same level of football. No, I would agree with you on that.
They're competing for the same title.
Yeah.
So that's the same level of football, is it not? I know we put different acronyms like G5, P4, but they're competing for the same title. So the point I've always made, and it was James Madison or Tulane this year, but it could be Cincinnati in years past before they joined the Big 12, was me personally, I know there are a lot of hoops to jump through to accomplish this, but if I could just snap my fingers and have a G5 playoff, I would love that, because I'd be able to watch JMU compete for a title they actually have a shot of winning, instead of the best case scenario for them being, oh man, we're like the top of the ladder for us. If we get to the top rung and we reach and extend our arm fully, the best thing we could hope to grab is a beat down in like round one. That's always been dumb to me.
A cover, a first round cover. I said that was my national championship. If we could cover the spread against Oregon, I don't think that it's not like JMU or other teams in the group of five have a shot to win a full playoff bracket and emerge as national champions. I would agree with that, but I would also say there's probably only 4 or 5 teams in the country that do have a chance to do that. And we have a playoff bracket that's much more than 4 or 5 teams now.
Indiana just
here's the one thing I would say. All right, so like Alabama made the playoffs this past year, and they just got run by Indiana. The difference in that to me is Alabama has a full deck to work with, so they can spend. They have the same resource pool, actually a better resource pool than an Indiana does. So when they get beat down, it's literally because Alabama had the same advantages and didn't take advantage. JMU doesn't even deal from the same deck. Tulane doesn't deal from the same deck. And those are some of the power players at the G5 level.
I would just point to the first 5 guys who touched the trophy for Indiana at this year's national championship were all JMU transfers.
Yeah, you're actually making the point for me here, because I don't think we've ever been further away from the G5 being able to touch the thing than we are right now. I think back in the day, you had a reasonable shot to look at Boise, or I keep on going back to Cincinnati, because they made the 4-team playoff as a G5 one year. Those teams could be chock full of seniors that have stuck it out at that program. That does not exist anymore. The second you get on the radar, and I'm not blaming any kid for doing this, the second you get on the radar, you served your freshman and sophomore seasons at UL Monroe, you're just going to play at Ole Miss. You're just going to play at LSU. So you actually get punished as a G5 team now, more so than ever, for your success. I don't even know how you would have a modern day Boise or a modern day Cincinnati. It's JMU. And the problem is they got good enough where their coach and roster got ready.
Yeah, I've said for the last few years that if we're going to be a stepping stone, I've accepted the fact that JMU is a stepping stone program if you're a head coach. You might as well be the best stepping stone there is, right? So now I feel like we've kind of emerged as that's the place you want to go if you're a young up-and-coming coach, or if you're Billy Napier looking to kind of revive your image. That's the one spot that you can go to and then leverage that to get into a great job after you're done. It's kind of it's a shitty place for college football to be. I just don't think that a group of 5 national championship really solves anything, because then you might as well just call that we're back to the FCS now. It's like the new FCS is going to be the group of 5 national championship, which just kind of it separates it a little bit too much for my taste.
Yeah, there's one other mechanism that I'd love to bake in. Again, I don't know how any of this is legal, but we can just say whatever we want to. So I've always believed that if you take a kid from a G5 roster in the portal, I would love to see that program have to recoup that G5 team monetarily. So I would love to see JMU make money off the fact that they invested in developing the kids developed a profile on their dime, and now all of a sudden they go to Indiana, or a kid from Georgia State goes to Georgia. That's going to happen. You can't restrict that. What you can do is you can put in mechanisms where at least they fill their pocket a little bit on the back end instead of being left with their hands in the air.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Big T, I know you got some movie takes that you want to get into.
Are we going to talk fever?
Well,
pitch?
I honestly, I planned. You said that tweet about Summer Catch. I was going to watch it last night. I fell asleep at 8 p.m. and woke up at 7. I had a long weekend in Orlando, so I did not get to watch it yet. However, are you saying Fever Pitch is good, Summer Catch is just better, or you're anti-Fever Pitch?
I've developed a little anti-Fever Pitch. Not so much so that I wouldn't check out 20 minutes of it if it were on. But you got to understand, so that's like 04, 05, right? Isn't that when that came out?
Yeah, well, it was the 04 season, so it probably came out in 05 or 06, yeah.
All right, there was a weird thing happening back then. So I was a kid. I was in high school during this time period. Hardcore Braves fan. I grew up in West Central Georgia. So we grew up despising the Yankees like most of America did. There was this stretch in the early to mid 2000s where I felt like, because the Boston Red Sox were in ESPN's backyard, and I felt like ESPN studios must be crawling with Boston guys, which has turned out to be absolutely true. I felt like they were trying to force feed Boston down my throat. I felt like the Yankees, even though I hated them, there was a reason that the Pinstripes made me feel something and made people in Denver or Seattle feel something. I felt like they were trying to manufacture the Red Sox. And then I all of a sudden find out there's a movie coming. So I had this one buddy, Jeff, who kind of fell off the Braves wagon. He goes Red Sox. And so we lost him as, you know, like a foxhole kind of guy. He tries to sell me on the fact that Fever Pitch made him emotional because they're coming off the World Series. Fever Pitch comes out. I hadn't seen it. And he tries to sell me like this is the ending of Field of Dreams, Part 2. You're going to get a little teary-eyed. You just got to understand what this means to Boston Red Sox fans. I watched the movie. And I'm trying, like, right up until the end, Drew Barrymore's on the field, Jimmy Fallon's on the field. I'm trying to wait. Like, what's the tearjerker moment here? Of course, it never comes. And I really felt like I was played by the movie. And I felt like I was played by a lot of national sports media during that early mid-2000s time period. And I just felt like a lot of what the Red Sox were manufactured. And they were trying to sell me on Red Sox and Yankees so much. And I bought half of that. I never bought the other half of it. And then when Summer Catch comes out, they're just kind of suggesting, hey, there's this thing called the Cape Cod League. There's this girl named Jessica Biel. We're going to take them. We're going to infuse them. And we're just going to toss it out there. Matthew Lillard is in his post-Scream era. Freddie Prinze Jr. finally learning how to pronounce his last name about that time. Patrick Dennehy, I think, was the coach in the movie, and it never tried to be something it wasn't. It never tried to feel me some. It never tried to make me feel some kind of way. So I was much more of a Summer Catch kind of guy than a Fever Pitch kind of guy.
All right, so just a couple things. I look forward to watching it. Number 2, thankfully, Barstool Sports will never do what you described as trying to force feed Boston down your throat. So you're in the right place. Number 3, you and I both Braves guys. Let's say Fever Pitch had never come out, and in 2022 they release a movie. Let's call it Fever Pitch. I don't know. And the 2021 Atlanta Braves win the World Series, and Jimmy Fallon's trying to sell his season tickets at Truist Park because he lost the woman he loves. She drops down from the bullpen, runs across the field, and says, if you love me enough to sell your tickets, I love you enough not to let you. I'm getting emotional creating this in my mind. If that was in a film, your buddy who's a Red Sox fan, you can understand that.
I'm okay with that because I get emotional watching actual game footage. Like if you put on the 92 NLCS, I could listen to Skip Carey's radio call of Sid Bream's slide. I could listen to Sean McDonough give one of about 50 legendary play-by-play moments that he's ever had. That's real life. My whole question was, wait a second. So the Braves and the Cubs are the two teams throughout the 90s that are being broadcast on super stations. Why are the Red Sox trying to be forced upon me like America's Team Part B? Why shouldn't it be the Cubs, who were losers in that era? So the Braves were winners. So I questioned back then why we never got the movie.
I would love one. We did get Trouble with the Curve, which we also discussed last week.
Oh,
not the best film.
Were you in on Trouble with the Curve?
Much in the same way as you described Fever Pitch. I find the plot kind of dumb.
I don't know no clue what even happened. I've seen it twice. I've seen it 3 times. I don't know what's happening.
Timberlake has a good performance in that movie. He's solid. What gets me in that movie is that the villain is Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, and that just removes me from the film completely.
Well, also, I mean, the best prospect in the movie looks like he picked up a baseball for the first time 2 weeks before they started filming.
Yes. Bo, what's his name? Bo Gentry? Is that his name?
Yeah.
But regardless, I'm still a Fever Pitch guy. I've seen it probably 60 times. I have some more like in-depth college football if we want to do college football. Josh, everybody asks who the next Indiana is. Turned out it was Indiana, but I'm not. There will be no next Indiana unless you can hire Kurt Signetti away, because that's an irreplicable set of circumstances. Who's the next Vanderbilt, though? A team that seemingly comes from nothing to a level where it's competing on a national stage with top level talent, and maybe it's a school that has a ton of money that hasn't spent it yet, or an up and coming coach, but they can get to that level. Not necessarily, maybe they can win a national championship, but they don't have to jump there immediately.
I actually think it may be USF. I know they're G5 right now. I think USF's probably going to be in the Big 12 or the ACC or whatnot over the next few years, but they are loaded. I mean, they're disproportionately loaded at that level. Hartline went down there. I mean, he fell into one of the best positions you could ever fall into as a first-time head coach. Now it's up to him to make something of it. But like I'm kind of privy to a lot of these guys, whether it's Summerall at Tulane or Golish at USF. I've talked to them a lot about the offers they've gotten. I think it would surprise people how many legit big-time jobs those guys turned down, because the way you would think about those jobs 20 years ago versus the way you think about them today is totally changed. The USF job is like one of the 30 or so best jobs in the country, 30, 35. I haven't like charted it, but that's a really good job. And that's one where they haven't had success yet. They haven't really flashed. They haven't made the playoff or anything. So I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise when it happens, but I don't think it'll be too long before it happens.
What do you think about Virginia Tech?
They could make noise immediately. Like the thing that happened with Virginia Tech I went up there this past, I don't know, year at some point, and it was when Brent Pry was still the head coach, who wildly is now the DC. Mm-hmm. And they were just kind of explaining how badly they dropped the ball in recruiting the state of Virginia for a long time. They just checked out on it. I remember talking to Franklin when he was at Penn State, and he said, it's crazy like how routinely we can go into Virginia and get kids. I've had Beamer at South Carolina tell me it's not really that much of a fight against Virginia Tech when we've gone in there. And it's crazy because like Shane Beamer knows that program very well. And so they had guys come in there and kind of drop the ball. So they've got to pick that back up. And I don't doubt James Franklin will do that. I just think you're kind of running up against the precipice now of an entire generation of kids who will not have known Virginia Tech is a contender. Yeah. You got to be careful. Like when you get into your 30, 35, 40-year-old age range, you still associate Mike Vick, Virginia Tech, those mid-2000s teams, Thursday night there, places going insane. They could legitimately compete for a national title. They're in the top 10 of the BCS standings. It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
That time goes by really quickly. And now if you're 21 years old and someone tries to sell you on the vibe at Virginia Tech, the energy at Virginia Tech, hey, they could be a contender again. that 21-year-old looks at you and says, what do you mean again?
Yeah.
Like, what do I not know? Is there something that happened back in the day?
Yeah, it's tough for guys to be like, well, you get this lunch pail, right? We got the lunch pail, and you're going to love that. A 21-year-old kid from Newport News is going to be like, yeah, no, that really doesn't do it for me. But I do think that you're right. Like, when I grew up in the 90s, it was like Bruce Smith was still kind of fresh in the back of people's brains. And then Mike Vick comes, and then, after that, you get a little secondary bump with Marcus Vick, and then the Eddie Royal years. They've had some good players, and since then they've dropped the ball recruiting in state. But I do feel like they got a big cash infusion, and the school is realizing we need to take this. We need to invest now, or else we're going to be permanently left behind. So I would say that Virginia Tech in that conference would be a big one to watch. Big T, what else you got? I know you just want to chop. You've got like a million questions.
You're kind of interjecting with my Josh time.
You're so happy to just be chopping up with like a real ball knower. So I'll let you get back to it.
Josh, you released your ideal conferences yesterday of college football if you were placed in charge, which I think would be a fine decision. I think you and I both know that'll never happen. It's going the opposite way rather than that way, unfortunately. But I love, as I'm sure you do, I love when college football was a regional thing. It had a national element, but it was a regional sport. Like, I love watching Tennessee, Kentucky, teams that have played for 100 years. I like that kind of thing, as opposed to, Tennessee's playing Oklahoma this week, or Ohio State's playing UCLA. Is it completely gone as a regional? Especially, we have nothing in society that isn't national or international anymore. Like the internet, everything is just, everyone's involved in everything. There's nothing anymore. Maybe baseball has a little bit of that where you pay attention to your team and that, but that's, I feel like we don't have something that's regional anymore like we used to with college football, and it seems like I don't see the path to regaining that.
Here's the path. All right, there's the idealistic stuff, which is just make a graphic because it's a random Sunday in March, which is what I did last night. There is a legit way that you could accomplish this, though. Now, we'd have to go further down a road that people don't want to go down to get there. So if you believe the Big Ten and the SEC are hell-bent on gobbling up all the value properties in the sport, you probably aren't too far off base. So walk that thing through to a conclusion. Let's say the SEC does go in, for lack of a better term, just kind of gobble up a majority of the ACC. The Big Ten just continues and maybe gobbles up a majority of what is the Big 12. And, you've got basically the teams that comprised all those conferences that I listed last night. It's just they're all in this SEC bubble or this Big Ten bubble. I think if those conferences were smart, what they would do is they would gobble as quick as they can, grab it all up, buy the intellectual property while you're at it, and then as soon as you've got all the commodities, just reestablish what I put on that graphic last night. Because no one really cares. If you're watching a game in Houston, Texas, you don't really care that the University of Houston is now in the Southwest Conference, but it's a subsidiary of the Big Ten. You don't really care. You just care that, wow, we got regionality back in conferences. We've got more conferences. We only have 10 teams per conference, so everyone plays everyone in a given season. And we don't have a team in Los Angeles playing a conference game in New Jersey anymore. So I think there's a way to do it. It does really require a couple of entities gobbling up most of the sport. But if you parse that thing out the right way, once you've gobbled it up, it looks no different than me going and buying a Nestle Crunch. Like the Crunch bar in my hand and that tinfoil wrapping and that blue wrapper and that red iconic logo, I don't care what conglomerate owns it. I just care that it looks the same and tastes the same as it did when I was a kid. And if you can accomplish that, I don't really think fans care how you accomplish it. Now, what would really be great is if you package that with a new TV deal so that instead of these silos of these conference TV deals, Texas is playing on Fox one week and they're playing on NBC one week and they're playing on CBS, and you got Clack calling the game in Seattle one week and Tallahassee the next week. I'd love that. That's one of the parts of the NFL I really wish college football had, is just one singular TV deal. Instead of this thing right now, why would a person at Fox be incentivized to promote SEC football at all? Why would a person at Fox be incentivized to promote the playoff at all? They don't own any of that, which is stupid. In the NFL, you work for NBC Sports. It's in your best interest to promote the NFL as a whole. Number one, you've got playoff games. You've got a Super Bowl every few years. You've got a package on Sunday night, which eventually is going to feature most every team in the league. And we don't have that in college football right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, two things. We'd have to go to the Supreme Court for that, right? Because that's a Supreme Court ruling from the 60s or 70s. But secondly, to be honest with you, I stopped listening to your answer when you brought up Nestle Crunch. Are you a Crunch bar guy?
I've been known to be.
I love this guy, man.
You love
Crunch is my 1-1.
That's your one pick
You
over
could,
Mr. Goodbar.
You could talk me into Kit Kat and then Crunch.
Yeah.
Two relatives in the same family, but I'm a Crunch guy.
I put that in the.
Do you have a dark horse candidate? Because I've got one I stumbled on the past few years accidentally one Halloween that was never on top 10 for me growing up. But the Heath bar, I don't think gets nearly enough.
I'm not in on the Heath.
Have you tried it?
A long time ago.
Like
a long time ago.
I think the toffee makes Big T think like that's a bit European for his taste.
It could be. I maybe I need to try one again. My dark horse was going to be I'm a dark chocolate guy. I'll do anything dark chocolate as well.
I always say Milky Way for me above Snickers. Wow. I put that. I think the peanuts get in the way sometimes.
So
you're Snickers.
So you're a Mounds guy, not Almond Joy.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
But also Mounds dark chocolate, Almond Joy milk chocolate.
Sure.
But yeah, I prefer the smooth, rich taste of Milky Way over the peanuts, which sometimes they just get in the way. There's too many of them on a Snickers.
Do I recall correctly? Were you not here when Dana Beers didn't know that was the difference?
I was there. Yeah. That Almond Joy's got nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Mounds don't.
Do we need to go back to college football? Are you Arian? You got any candy takes?
I don't really like candy.
That's right. That's right.
I guess back in the day, I used to like the Reese's cups, and when you put them in a banana, that shit go.
Now this is the first time I'm hearing of this.
Yeah. Open a banana, break off a little piece, put it in there, eat it. This shit is unbelievable. My grandpa, RP, he taught me that shit.
I guess people do peanut butter and banana.
A crumbled Reese's into a banana sounds pretty incredible.
So then you throw the chocolate, and people do chocolate and banana too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's I can guarantee you I like that. Never tried it before.
Yeah, I'm going to though. Like 100%. I'm already in.
I had one more college football, JP, and you may have just touched on this. If you were to completely restart college football from scratch, you're the commissioner, everything is completely up to you. What is something that most people would say is untouchable that you would alter?
Oh, man. Well, it's probably what we just talked about. Like, it's probably the conference setup and the TV deal stuff. That's probably what it would be. Because think about what works downstream of that. Take an Ohio State fan, for example. I know this because we just did it on the show last night. They've had something like 6 and 5 noon kickoffs the past 2 years. All their big games are noon kickoffs. It's all on the same network. And you just know, like if you're a season ticket holder at Ohio State and you got a big home game, you just kind of know I'm going to have to get there at 6 a.m. If I'm going to tailgate it all, I'm going to have to get there at 6 a.m. or night before. We're never getting a primetime game unless it's a playoff game. That Tennessee game is the only big primetime game I remember in Ohio Stadium in forever.
Glad we got to play in that one.
I don't try and model college football after the NFL a whole lot. I stay away from that. But there are things the NFL figured out a long time ago that I wish college football would figure out. I think those would be 2 of them, really.
Okay. I feel like people would like that though. Is there something you would do that would be unpopular?
No. Okay. I would have to divorce my emotion on this. I was never a big playoff guy. But I know most people are. So like, even if I ran things, you couldn't go pure dictator on people and say my way goes no matter what. I would have to do some solid focus grouping. I would find out people want the playoff, and we can't go back in time. You can't wipe people's memory. So once they've experienced the playoff, you can't go back in time and then make them unsee the playoff. I'm always a regular season guy. So I'm like the 3rd or 4th week in October. That's the peak of the year for me, which is way different than pro sports where you're just building towards the culmination at the end. College football's playoff and the end of it's always felt kind of anticlimactic to me as opposed to the heart of the season, which is the regular season. But I get it. It's very popular. It makes everybody a lot of money. It makes us a lot of money. If I had it my way, it's not nearly as necessary, I guess. And the expansion especially was not nearly as necessary as a lot of people thought it was.
So when Heupel
Agreed.
says 2014
I can't
playoff,
believe he said that. I can't believe he
I
said
can.
that.
I would say it if I were a coach. I'm heavily incentivized. That's why I told.
What did he
I was
say?
talking to a head coach the other
2014
day. He
is
was
the
saying,
right.
"Oh man, I'm all for expansion." And I said, respectfully, mountains of respect to you. I don't value coaches' opinions on playoff size. I don't value an athletic director's opinion on it, because these people are now in this zero-sum world where you either made the playoff or didn't make the playoff, and that's what's on your resume. Half the time you have it baked into the incentive portion of your contract. Like, of course they want the playoff as big as you can possibly make it.
Totally.
That's why I'm not really listening to them.
Totally agree with you. It's in their best interest to have it that big. Is it in their best interest to say it? Like, because I think it makes Heupel look like, oh, you only think Tennessee can make it if there's 12 more teams in it.
At this point, though, you've got entire conferences floating out 2014 proposals. I don't really think people even care what an individual head coach says. I don't even think it's not even on people's radar. It may make the headlines on your local websites and whatnot for a day or two, but I didn't even know Heupel said that as an example. I wouldn't even know where it came out of his mouth.
I actually don't either. I just saw it this morning.
I agree. I think every coach is they're going to say something like this, especially if they're in a Tennessee position where it's like, yeah, 24-team playoff would be great.
To be clear, we made the 12-team playoff.
You did make
and
the 12-team
would have made the
playoff.
14 playoff if South Carolina didn't have our plays, but it's a separate conversation. But guess what they're going to say when it's 24?
Mhm.
Oh, well, if only it was 36.
Yeah, I mean,
We would have made it last year.
64.
It's coming. I mean, I don't know, man.
It will be it does feel inevitable for TV ratings and for the money and the revenue that could come in, that we're going to continue to expand it to a point where it's where it will lose a lot of the appeal for, I don't want to say like the real fans, but the diehard fans of the sport. That'll be sacrificed to the masses. So just get used to it.
I just can't stand how there's such a lack of ingenuity. Like, there's such a lack of good ideas, being able to build valuable products, that in the absence of that, when everyone starts to go broke, they just look over at this ATM that's got a playoff logo on it, and they just say, well, just make it bigger. Just make that thing over there bigger. That's our fail safe. It's like raising tax rates. Man, we got this. We got the city in a bunch of debt. We just have to raise taxes. We always know we can raise taxes. Well, in college football, their version of raising taxes is, all right, we got ourselves in a mess. We're paying ourselves way too much money. We've run up this debt. Let's just make the playoff bigger. That'll bail us out. And unfortunately, it works.
This is the smartest guy we got.
I heard there was some coach that brought this up, so I'm not passing this off as my idea, but I heard it somewhere a couple months ago. For the bowls, why don't we just take the bowls and make them week 0?
Yeah, it was Neuheisel.
Neuheisel, there you go. Yeah, great idea, I think, by Neuheisel, where it's like, you want these games to mean something? Okay, make them part of the regular season. We get some out-of-conference matchups we don't normally see, and it's week 0, and nobody's sitting out for it. I think everybody's happy with that, right?
Yeah, no one will be happy with anything. Like, you won't get a consensus on it. I didn't think it was a bad idea at all. What you can't do is just stick with the way it is right now, because that's a failed concept at this point. So, like, you have to have an idea. So for all the people who push back on that and they hate it as an idea, I'm like, okay, well, what's your alternative? You can't just shoot down an idea when we have a problem without bringing a counter idea. The other one that we talked about on our show a couple of months ago, Stephen Godfrey had a version of this that he put out there, and I kind of tried to build off of it, was if you take like 6 bowls, Pop-Tart Bowl, Citrus Bowl, or whatever, and you look at that week after conference, or the week of conference championship games. You remember this past year how Vanderbilt randomly tried to schedule a game? They tried to randomly get a 13th game to get a 13th data point. What that made me think is, I think Texas tried to do it too. That made me think, all right, if we really want a 13th data point, then let's go all in on that concept and try and salvage bowl season in the process, to where you go get half a dozen of your highest profile bowls and have them lock in for that conference championship week, and have, number 11 versus number 21 or whatnot. And so you have matchups featuring teams that are kind of on the bubble right now, but you count it as a data point.
Yeah, it becomes like an at-large playing game.
It's kind of a play-in game, but if you think about it, you could technically lose that game and still make it, depending on what you're ranked going in. But the real appeal is, if you're ranked 21st right now, You got one more shot, and you're doing it in the Pop-Tart Bowl. So we kind of salvaged bowls. But anyway, someone's going to push back on any of those ideas. To the people who push back, I always just ask, well, what are you going to do instead? What's your plan?
Yeah, and I feel like nothing's going to get solved permanently until there's some sort of I don't know if it's players union or a collectively bargained agreement that happens between the players and the schools. That feels inevitable, and it feels like once we know what that looks like, then we can really plan for the future in this sport. So yeah, but I do appreciate the ideas. You're an ideas man, which I always like, and I agree with you that if you're going to disagree with what's going on right now, give me a solution. Give me something different that we can do.
What about spring games?
I don't like spring games. Football is for the fall.
No,
You know
but
that, Big T.
the bowls are glorified practices anyway.
Yeah.
So instead of Tennessee playing Illinois and Nashville on December 30th or whatever it was with nobody in attendance, play that game in April. That counts as your spring game.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of all the bowls that are in New York and Boston and all that. Play them all in the South where it's warm, it's nice weather, and you play it as your spring game against somebody else instead of a scrimmage at your own stadium. I'd be there with bells on.
Well, this to me was where you always solved the FCS problem. Everyone had a problem with SEC teams playing like East Tennessee State in November. And so, like, I've always wondered, well, why won't you let Tennessee bring ETSU to Knoxville and scrimmage them as their spring game? Pay them some money, get a TV network behind it. They'd be happy to. They're like endless amounts of inventory space for television products that time of year. So, I mean, if Elon wanted to come to Georgia and that's Georgia's spring game, ESPN or SEC network would happily write the equivalent of the check that they would get in the fall. What are they getting, like between $500,000 and $1 million to play those games? So just cash the check in the spring. And then you also solve this problem of these dead scheduling weeks that pop up late in the year in the fall, which no one wants to watch.
So, but you would then have to require those games be replaced with power conference opponents, I assume.
You would think so. You would think so. But also the way I think it should be is I wouldn't require you to do it in the spring. I just want you to have the option. Because I talked about this one time and I had some guy hit me up. He was a defensive coordinator. He said, no, you can't be forcing us to try and play a somewhat real game for our spring game. I said, I'm not forcing you to do anything. I'm telling you enough teams out there want to do it that I want them to have the option to do it. That's all I want. Because if you're like, the pushback is always, you need to get rid of the FCS games in the fall. And then the counter to that is, well, playing us is their financial lifeblood. That's how that school cashes a check that funds themselves. So then the retort for a long time is, oh, well, I guess we just have to eat it. Well, why not just play the game for the spring game? That way you don't have to watch it in the fall. And they still cash a check and they still get to survive. And we actually get a somewhat reasonable product for a spring game. TV networks are happy. Everybody's happy. I thought, at least.
Is this just my imagination, or have spring games gotten worse in the last 5 to 10 years? I feel like
last year they sucked because everyone tried to bail on them because you had a post-spring portal window.
That's true too.
And they all said, we don't want to put our players on display for everyone else to scout. And they were kind of right about that. So now the NCAA comes along and says, oh, only going to be one portal window. And everyone's laughing at it behind the scenes because everybody still thinks that all you have to do is withdraw from Tennessee and enroll at Miami for the fall semester.
UCLA.
And you don't even have to enter the transfer portal. It's not like you have to officially do that, especially if you're a grad transfer. So there's a lot up in the air still about how legitimate spring games can be. But again, we're trying to offer solutions.
Give me your college football playoff for next year. Give me your. I'll let you just name top 12. Just not necessarily the playoff. Top 12 teams going into next year, and then this time next year we'll go back. We'll look at it, and we will judge you very harshly.
Mm-hmm. I would have Notre Dame winning the whole thing right now.
Okay.
I would have Texas there. I will have Miami back there. I'll have Georgia back there. I will have, did I say Ohio State already?
No.
I'll have them there. Oregon will be there. Texas Tech will be back. Houston, a very surprise entrant into the playoff this year.
Have you been counting? I haven't been counting.
That feels like 8. I was just thinking
I'm
about
gonna put
Texas Tech.
I'm gonna put Alabama in. I'm trying not to go too heavy on the SEC. I just live in the South, so I start in the South.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out if A&M or LSU are going to be my other SEC team. Let's go LSU. Why not? Lane Kiffin makes it in his first year, and man, I don't know if I'm sold on Michigan yet. I got a Big 12 in there already. I've only got one ACC, but I don't know where else I would go in the ACC. I don't trust Clemson. I don't trust Florida State. Maybe Virginia Tech comes out of nowhere. They did have a highly ranked portal class. Don't know what their schedule looks like, though. Penn State's schedule is really workable. I just don't know if year one, the bonfire gets cranked
Mhm.
up with Matt. Could happen, though.
You think this is Dabo's last year?
He's in a weird spot. Like, can you envision Clemson firing
No.
him in the traditional sense?
No, I can't. I feel like he'd
No.
be like, you can't fire me. I built this place.
I can see it now.
You can?
You really could see Dabo
I
getting
agree it's
fired.
insane. I think it's insane. There's so much money at stake, and what, as much as you want to say that like fan sentiment doesn't matter, and yes, he's been incredibly successful there, if they go 7-5 or 8-4, like they're gonna be at the gates. And at some point you have to make a decision based on your customer base and what they're willing to accept.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe, and again, maybe it's not fired. Maybe it's mutual parting of ways, whatever.
Look, if it happens, and I agree with you, man, if they go 7-5 again, the situation's kind of done. And if you look at their roster, last year was the year it was supposed to happen. Because I remember going into last year and I was talking about it like, don't even think about 2026. You don't want to know what's coming in 2026 because you have not recruited well. You refuse to use the portal. You got all your senior guys. You got your veteran quarterback. That's this year. Worry about this year. Well, the problem is they won 7 games. So the year it was supposed to happen, it didn't happen. They should be much worse this year on paper than they were last year. And so if that does manifest itself in terms of final record, the way I think it would go down is it gets really contentious. It's really ugly and uncomfortable during the season. And then they kind of let him know, and we never get the full detail. And they negotiate a reduced buyout in exchange for him being able to say, I'm retiring. That is the way I think the quote unquote firing of Dabo would really have to happen.
But you don't think he'd go somewhere else? I think he'd jump somewhere else.
I think he believes he's got a lot of ball left in him. Now, the way I looked at it is, like, if you know anything about Nick Saban's setup, he was making a ton of money at Alabama. He got a raise to go do TV. So if I were looking at that climate and knowing how in demand Dabo would be for TV, I'd look at it and I'd say, if I were Dabo, I'm early 50s, something like that. Like he should have a decade of runway left if he's winning. I always said if I were one of these guys, I'd go do TV for like 3 or 4 years, fully planning on getting back in. I would just wait until the landscape looked more manageable for me. And NIL and portal and whatnot, like that stuff's kind of gotten settled and figured out. In the meantime, I'd go make $10 million a year doing TV.
It would be a great deal. Josh, I got one last question for you here before we let you go. And it's just, I don't know how much you can say about what you know behind the scenes about what's happened at UNC in the last 12 months. Is it going to be any more chaotic next year, or can we just expect the same level of chaos to continue? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Belichick straightens it all up. Maybe they look competitive. They field a good team this year, but it feels like the two options are like, is it going to remain the same or get worse?
So I don't know anybody in that program. I don't know Bill at all. I don't know Michael Lombardi at all. So I'm going pure secondhand on this. But I've talked to some kids recently that were through there on recruiting visits and official visits and stuff like that. And the vibe they describe is so disjointed and like discombobulated. They kind of left with more questions than they went there with. But I hate saying that because, like, I know what happens. I know that gets clipped and it gets used in negative recruiting for North Carolina. I don't mean it that way. It's amplifying what I've already thought, though. So I already thought it was going to fail. I already thought it was going to be a disaster, especially if you hired him and paid him that money expecting North Carolina to be in playoff contention, because I didn't think that was ever going to happen. So I don't know. I don't hear many good things from over there. And I don't really know I said this on our show last night. We were talking about coaches in must-win mode this year. I know Norvell's in must-win mode at Florida State. Everyone knows that because there's an established standard of winning there. I don't really know what the bar to clear at North Carolina is. How do you know he's succeeding? Like, what are the metrics? What are the barriers?
I don't know either. I think it's just like have a functional football team and make Michael Jordan happy.
I don't think MJ's he can't be very happy watching.
I don't think he's ever happy. I think that's what makes him so great.
They'll always have that first drive.
Yeah, that first drive was incredible.
My best bet of the season was loading up on TCU after North Carolina scored on
You
that
bet him
first
live?
drive. Oh yeah.
Genius move.
Yep.
Yeah.
Josh, I have one final question. It's a two-parter, but the second part existing is predicated on your answer to the first.
Okay.
How would you grade my performance in this interview?
I think you've been good. You maintained more eye contact than I did. You had a well-structured list of questions, and I could tell there were 3 or 4 different rabbit holes that you thought about going down that you did not go down.
One in particular. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could feel that. So I feel like there was a lot of variety of content. This was not surface-based. There were several layers to the cake. I would come back. I would do it again.
Okay, so the second part will indeed be prompted. I consider myself a Patiac, as you know. Can I tell people that you're a Big T believer?
Yes.
All right. Hell yeah.
Got it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Good question, Big
Yep.
T.
Thank you.
If we could do family and friends first,
Okay.
and then maybe as we get to know each other better, then maybe you just kind of share it with your general social circle and stuff like that. Basically, a trial period is what I'm asking for.
Done.
Yes, we won't make this public just yet.
I'll just tell fiance and I've got 2 friends that need to know today. That's it.
You've got 2 friends, or you've got 2 friends that you're going to tell today?
2 friends that need to know today.
Because you have
I have more than
friends.
2. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
All right. I thought that went well. It's
think
the
it-
start of a beautiful relationship.
I think it went.
Now,
great.
how jealous is Brandon going to be? That's the other question. You did you slandered him a little bit.
No, I just asked if Josh would have a big banner if Big Game Boomer named him the number one.
I'm just
college
curious
football
if you've
personality.
thought about the repercussions coming from within these walls with Brandon. Like, I don't know if he's going to
Buddy.
do as many TikToks with you now.
Come what may.
Has he bothered to come on this show?
He's been
yeah.
on a couple times.
Yeah.
He has? Okay.
He's recurring
Oh,
guest.
I did have one last question. You're a big weather guy. Is there something going on in the weather community we should be aware of right now, or is everything good to go?
I am a big believer in the next 10 to 14 days, we'll see our first tornado outbreak of the season. I also think it's going to give a really false sense of spring, and there's one more pulse of pretty legit cold coming in mid to late March. But then it's storm chasing season. I'm gearing up for storm chasing season. Like, that's what I'll be doing for the next 3 months.
I love that. I have noticed in the fall that we've had a few more weather delays when it comes to college football than we have in years past. I tend to think it's a big conspiracy that the more weather delays we have in college football, the easier it is to sell all sorts of climate change propaganda to people in the South because their college football is getting delayed. So it makes it more realistic for them. Yeah.
Just add inventory.
Yeah.
I mean, it greatly behooves a network to have a weather delay.
Right. That's how we grew up watching Braves games, and we were fed reruns of Sanford and Son.
And Andy Griffith. Yes,
Griffith.
I know Andy Griffith because of rain delays.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Josh. We appreciate it. Big T believer, Josh.
Thank you,
Pate.
Josh.
And we will tap in with you as we get closer to college football season, or in case you find yourself in the middle of a giant political turmoil, and we just need to check in on you and your mental health and well-being. But thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Either way, I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Josh. That was Josh Pate. He's the man.
What a great interview.
I'm so glad that you've got your best friend.
Yeah, I mean, we have to keep it low key for a minute, but then we'll really. I mean, if we could, I didn't want to push.
Yeah.
It sounds like we could get an in-season visit.
I
you
think so. Yeah, and I think Brandon's going to be very jealous.
Okay.
Very jealous. I'm just warning you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to push first talk, but I think we're in a good spot.
I think so. All right, thanks to Josh Pate for coming on.
Thank you, JK.
Yeah, don't love bomb, man.
Yeah, I'm trying not to.
Play cool, Big T.
Yeah.
Play
No,
cool.
I did. I was totally cool.
He was an okay guest.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, love you guys.
Goodbye.